Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Jenks Center. Okay, so if you're not part of our e-newsletter, if you don't receive it, then you can sign up at this link. Also, we are recording this evening, so if you don't want to be on the recording, then you can also turn off your camera at this time. So for April, we have one more program, and that will be tomorrow evening. It's called Dancers Dialogue. Our host for that will be Pamela Weiss, who's a dancer. She's a ballerina and contemporary dancer. She will be interviewing Tessa Antolini, who's a professional West Coast swing dancer, but she is classically trained in ballet, and she also is a judge for West Coast Swing, and she has performed all over the world and has received medals for that. She also is a teacher in the Boston area. And in May, we will have Simply Delicious, which is on the 3rd of May with our Indian, Afghani, Pakistani chef.
Link between us
and then on the 4th,
hosting this.
One moment. If you could mute yourselves until after, then we could have questions. That would be good. Thank you. So on the 4th, we have Robert McDougall, who's an author and historian. He's going to come and talk with us, do a PowerPoint presentation, and talk about his new book, which is on May 4th. We have Creative Journaling with Anne Severinsen. That's on May 5th. And we have a new program that is going to start in May, which is called the Walking Winchester series. So if you'd like to tune in for that, that's going to be with WinCam. We did our Walking Right Lock Farm on May 6th. That will be May 6th. So Design Fundamentals with Stacy Martin, that's on May 8th. We have Composer's Corner with Mark Cross on May 11th. He's a jazz musician who's had his own band. He is originally from Stoneham, but performed in the Boston area for 30 years, and he's now in New York City. We have an Ayurvedic series, part 3. You don't have to have been in part 1 or 2 to appreciate how to eat using the Ayurvedic method and realizing what your dosha is and how to eat for your health that way. And then we have Art Application to Improve Health on May 17th. The Voyage of Mercy with Stephen Puleo. If you would like to pick up the book, there's still time certainly to read that. I'm doing it on, audiobook, which is fun. Balancing a Joyful Life on May 19th with Mei Hung. She is from the Chinese Culture Connection. Acupressure, an acupressure demonstration with John Saya. That's on May 20th. And then Modern Architecture in Culturally Sustained Japan with Ulka Cooper. She is a Fulbright scholar. She received her doctorate from Cornell University, and that looks to be a very fascinating lecture. So if you'd like to come to that, none of these lectures will cost anything. All you have to do is go to our jenkscenter.org and sign up for them. Just register and you'll receive a link. They will all be virtually on Zoom. We have a privacy workshop on May 25th. That is how to protect yourself online. And then we have our monthly Dancers Dialogue with guest Hitsa Yu. She is a Korean dancer, choreographer, musician, and she has combined the traditional Korean dance with new compositions. She has been hosted at the White House, and she is quite famous for this. She does have a dance troupe that has done over 300 performances, so they are quite good at what they do. So I would like to thank the Cummings Foundation for their generous grant that has enabled us to hold all of these events. So thank you to the Cummings Foundation, and also to people like you that are donating to help us bring all of our programming to fruition. And that brings us to this evening, our musical adventure in Russia with Robert Finley. So Andrew Salentano, who's our musical host, he is the host from our Composer's Corner, is going to introduce Robert this evening. So I'm going to turn it over to him, stop sharing the screen, and I'm going to give it to Andrew. And for the moment, I'm going to spotlight him so people can see him.
Oh my, okay. Thank you, Hillary. Thank you for, 7 months ago, Hillary and I were talking about what can we do to broaden the offerings at the Jenks Center, and she was basically commissioned by them to set up these online events. And I'm very happy to have, we now have about 16 events a month now, which is just a great testament to her work. And I was just proud to be part of it and introduce a whole bunch of people to her. Some of you may recognize, for example, Ulka, who's going to be joining us. Well, Robert Finley, we're very happy to have him tonight. I've known him through the Boston Piano Amateur Association, which he founded, oh my God, I guess it was 2003, Robert? It was quite a while ago. And Robert has an extensive background in the musical world. He started at the age of 7 and studied at Trinity College in London, and then got his diploma at the Royal Academy. And then he has trained, under private tutelage in London, and then came over to the stateside and had tutors here, teachers, renowned people here in the States. He's a very accomplished pianist. We're very happy to have him tonight. He has been in competitions all over the world, and also has been invited all over the world to musical festivals. In fact, a few of them that he'll talk about tonight were based in Russia, and he's also performed elsewhere as well. And so I had a little bit of a preview of what he's going to show tonight. Really very exciting stuff, and I just wish we could all be in a room with him, because his playing is amazing, and he's got quite a repertoire under his fingers, so to speak. And I'm really proud to know him and work with him. And in fact, he's often a guest of ours at the Boston Symphony Orchestra Symphony Hall. Pre-COVID, he was playing practically every Saturday there, and just to rave reviews. People just love his playing, and so it's a great privilege to have him on board tonight. So Robert, I'm going to spotlight you so people will see you, and I'll unspotlight myself. And Robert has a wonderful series of things to show you today. So, and then Hillary, if you're still around, perhaps you can admit people as we go. I'll be glad to do that once you're out. But Robert, let me turn it over to you, and thank you so much again for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much for the nice introduction, Andrew. Good evening to everybody. Hope you're all keeping well. I'm going to talk about 3 trips I made to Russia, 2 to St. Petersburg and 1 to Moscow. I'm going to just give you an overview what I'm going to show you. I have many photographs and some video clips of my trips, and also I might play a few examples of music by different composers. Just to tell you a little bit more about me, I'm a retired electronics engineer. I was born in England, in Hull in the northeast, and I lived in London, and as Andrew said, I studied at Trinity College of Music. I got my diploma from the Royal College of Music, and then I emigrated to the United States in 1980, and then in 2001 actually I founded the Boston Piano Amateurs Association. The first trip I went on to was to St. Petersburg in 2012. This was July. I've always wanted to go to Russia. I was very curious about what it's like, heard many interesting things about it, and and I really love music by Russian composers. So I thought I would go. And a friend of mine in Paris, called Julian Kurtz, founded an organization called Les Amateurs Virtuoso, which has festivals for adult amateur pianists all over the world. They have one in France and then one in another country. And in July 2012, they had this festival in St. Petersburg, and it was at a particularly nice venue. It was at a palace called the Sheremetyev Palace. This was built in 1712, and it's on the banks of the Fontanka River. Very, very picturesque and luxurious inside. And the festival consisted of concerts, chamber music, master classes every day, and social events. The people who took part in this were finalists and winners of international amateur piano competitions. And when I went to St. Petersburg, I thought it was rather like Amsterdam, because it has canals and rivers, and it's one of the main tourist centers in the world. And I really had a wonderful time there. I traveled from Boston to London Heathrow Airport, and then got a flight from London to St. Petersburg, which was another 2 hours. I had to get a visa. When you travel to Russia, you need to have a visa, and it's a bit expensive. It's about $250 to $300, and it can be for multiple entries for, I think it's for 4 years. So I got the visa. And then when I arrived in St. Petersburg, they put us up in a very nice hotel in the Radisson Nevsky Prospect. Now, Nevsky Prospect is the main street in St. Petersburg. It's very much like Oxford Street in London and Fifth Avenue in New York, Boylston Street in Boston. It's very lively and very nice street. And the festival also took place during what's called the White Nights Festival, which runs from mid-April to August. This is the time of the year when you have the longest days, and it's quite amazing that it never gets dark in the middle of this period. It just stays daylight until midnight. It's just rather like a slight sunset, but stays light the whole time, and people stay up all night and go to restaurants and concerts, and it's a great time of year. The weather's very nice and warm in the 70s and 80s, and there's so much to see in St. Petersburg. It's, as I say, it's a real tourist attraction. One of the main things to see there is the Hermitage Museum and Winter Palace. It's rather like the Louvre for those of you who've been to Paris. It's the second largest art museum in the world, next to the Louvre. The Hermitage is the second largest, and it's right on the embankment of the Neva River. The other things very interesting for musicians is the Nevsky Monastery, which was founded in 1701 by Peter I, and the Tikhvin Cemetery, where all the famous Russian composers are buried, including Tchaikovsky. I've got pictures of this, so I'll show it to you. St. Petersburg was a center of musical activity, and all the great famous Russian composers, Tchaikovsky, Rimsky-Korsakov, Mussorgsky, etc., they all went there to teach and compose, and they all are buried in this cemetery. So I'll show you the tombs of these composers. The other thing that's wonderful is the Peterhof Palace and Gardens, which was created by Peter the Great in 1717, and this was after he visited Versailles, the Palace of Versailles in Paris, and he wanted to create something in Russia like that. It's got fantastic gardens, fountains, statues. All the fountains are run by gravity, and you reach it by hovercraft from the Hermitage embankment. I also went to the Rimsky-Korsakov apartments. This is Rimsky-Korsakov is a famous Russian composer who wrote Scheherazade, and everything is left just as it was when he lived there. So it was really
Excuse me, Robert,
fascinating.
do you want to share your screen with us? Because we're not seeing any of this. Did you want to show it to us now?
Yeah, I'm just finishing off reading what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to
okay.
show you the photos.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
I'm just coming to the end of it.
Sure.
And there are wonderful restaurants, hotels, shops, picturesque and ornate buildings, and there was an excellent metro and bus service in St. Petersburg. So that's an overview what I'm going for the first trip. Now I'm going to show you the photographs, and let's hope that I can do this this properly. Okay. Right. Just let me get organized and get this going. Okay. Photos. St. Petersburg. First trip. Okay.
One of the things I loved about these photographs is even though these buildings are hundreds of years old, they're so well maintained in many cases. They look brand new. I mean, I don't know whether they power wash them every week or whatever, but they're just beautiful.
Can you all see that now?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so this is the Winter Palace and Hermitage Museum, and it's on the edge of Admiralty Square. It's a huge square, and this looks rather like Nelson's Column. You know, it's a wonderful, wonderful place. Another view of it. Okay, and then this is in the cemetery that I told you about, where the composers are buried. This is Anton Rubinstein, who I think he was one of the founders of the St. Petersburg Conservatoire of Music, and he was a famous teacher there. Anton Rubinstein.
It's interesting, Robert, knowing that I can read Russian, it looks like they actually pronounce his name Rubinstein. It's got a
yes, Rubinstein, yeah.
down there.
That's
yeah.
the correct pronunciation, yeah. Yeah, so several views of that. Now this is the very elaborate tomb of a very nice one of Tchaikovsky. There's a very good likeness of him with, I think it's done in bronze and with an angel, rather like the tomb of Chopin in Père Lachaise in Paris, and another angel behind, and people leave flowers on the tomb. So that's Tchaikovsky. A few different views of it. Very well kept, of course. You see now, you can see, it does look very much like him. Side view. Okay, and as I said, all the composers are buried in the same place. You have, that's the one of Alexander Borodin, who was a chemist as well as a composer. He wrote the Prince Igor and ballet music. Let's see what else. Okay. Okay, this is the tomb of Nikolai Arensky, who was another, not quite as famous as Tchaikovsky, but he wrote very nice music. The Tchaikovsky tomb again. Okay, this is the Borodin. You can see some in gold leaf. It's got some of his music, quotations from his music there. This is Modest Mussorgsky, who wrote things like The Night on the Bare Mountain. It's very good music for Halloween. It's scary music. And also pictures at an exhibition, which is this is how there it goes. So that's what Mussorgsky wrote, and Borodin. Let me just go back to him. What he's famous for is this tune was used for "Stranger in Paradise," made into a song. Let's see if I can play. That's a very well-known tune that Borodin wrote. Very, very beautiful music.
Very nice.
Okay, so getting back to the tombs. Okay, that's a close-up of Borodin's tomb, and he had some patents actually. I think he did something to do with distilled water, the distilling water. So he was quite a well-known chemist, and as well as a composer. Okay, this is another not so well known. I think something like Archangelist or something like that. I can't remember, but I haven't heard his music before. Then this is Mili Balakirev, who wrote famous piano piece called Islame, which is a fantasy on Caucasian music from the Caucasus region of Russia. It sounds. The title is Islame, Islamic music. It's one of the most difficult pieces ever written for piano. So he wrote that. And then back to Rubinstein. This is this is Glazunov, Alexander Glazunov's tomb, another famous composer. Okay, let's see what we have next. Okay, now. This looks very much like St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow, but it's actually in St. Petersburg. It's called the Church on Spilt Blood, rather gory title. And it's just fantastic inside, all the mosaics and artwork and the onion spires. It's just a wonderful, wonderful... that's what I like about Russia, the architecture, the churches. It's just so picturesque. It's like from a fairy tale. And that's the view of it from a distance along one of the canals in St. Petersburg. You can go in and take a tour of it. It's called the Church on Spilt Blood because there was a massacre, I think, unfortunately. Somebody was knifed to death hundreds of years ago, and they built that church on the spot where it happened. Okay, another view of it. See, just really ornate. See, just really incredible, the art. Okay, now this is the monastery. I told you about the Tikvin monastery, and there's a little stream running by it, and I think it's Russian Orthodox. You can actually go in to see it, but you have to be dressed modestly, and they wouldn't let me in because I was wearing a short trousers, so you have to be modestly dressed. That's another view of the entrance to the monastery. Right, as I say, right next to it is the cemetery where the composers are buried. See, entrance. Okay, side street. Oh, and this is the Neva River. This is the river where the Sheremetyev Palace is located, just on the embankment, a little bit further up the river. It's very picturesque, and you can take boat trips up the river. Really, really nice, and even into the late hours of the evening during the white nights. You know, it's still daylight and sunny and warm. It's incredible. See, there's a boat trip. Really wonderful. As I say, all the buildings are very ornate. It's big. This is a department store in Nevsky Prospect. And you see, some of them look as though they're new. They're really well kept and beautiful colors. And okay, this is in one of the monuments in a park. I'm not sure who that's of. But, okay, they have these people dressed up as I don't know, aristocracy. You could take photographs with them, you know, and you give them some money. So that's that. Oh yeah, this is Peterhof. This is the palace that's just spectacular grounds with these fountains. You have to get there on a hovercraft from the embankment next to the Hermitage Museum. It's about a 20-minute trip, and you arrive here and you can visit the palace and the gardens. It's just wonderful, and all the fountains are operated by gravity, just rather like, if any of you have been to Rome, Italy, to the Villa d'Este, it's like that, you know, hundreds and hundreds of fountains. Seeing gold statues that are in gold. What's happened here? Let me move that. Okay, what's happened? Why did that move there? What's happened to it? Okay, yeah, so this is one of the fountains. It's just really, really nice. Wonderful place to spend an afternoon. See, just gorgeous. Very well kept. There were a lot of people there when I went. You see. Very crowded. I took lots of photos there. Statues. You see. It's well worth a visit if you go to St. Petersburg, one of the highlights. Okay. That's the palace. I didn't go in there because you know, it was a nice warm day. I wanted to be outside. And that's a little red squirrel in the park nearby. And then there's not much of a beach, but it's on the Bay of Finland. You see, so there are some more decent beaches nearby, but that's where it's located. Okay, now we've got a few more. Okay, of the Peterhof. You see, it's really gorgeous place. Okay, and that's the entrance to the Rimsky-Korsakov Museum. It says na Rimsky-Korsakova. You see, and that's where he lived. This famous composer. And it was just left as it was when he lived there in the late 19th century. You see, that's the sign, Rimsky-Korsakov. And that's him with his family. I think that's Glazunov, Rimsky-Korsakov, and he taught at the conservatoire and composed a lot there. That's his family. And the picture of it. Oil painting. Had a very long flowing beard. And that's Mussorgsky, photograph of him, Modest Mussorgsky. That's Borodin, I said, and that's Rimsky-Korsakov with some of his students and colleagues there in the conservatory. Okay, I think that's, I'm not sure who that is actually. And that's, I think, him when he was a younger man. The picture of him. And that's his office with photos of other composers as well. You see the Chopin, there's Chopin and there's Robert Schumann there on the wall. See, that's his desk and his diary. That's his conducting baton, I think it is. That's his piano. Not sure whether it is a medal. That's the entrance to the museum. You have to wear things over your shoes so you don't scratch the floor. You know, it's a wood panel floor, so you have to. They give you that so that you don't scratch it. That's the okay. That's a typical church. That was near the Rimsky-Korsakov Museum. So, you know, that's inside the Sheremetyev Palace, where I gave these concerts. That's some of the people who performed. You see, it's very, very nice inside, with chandeliers, good acoustics, nice piano. Okay. And the audience was very, very enthusiastic. You know, they really gave us a very good applause. They really appreciated everything we did. See, some people who played. They gave us all gifts. They gave us flowers and posters and all sorts of things. You know, it's very, very nice. I think that's the end of that. Yeah, I'll play you a little bit of the Rimsky-Korsakov, one of the famous excerpts of what he. You can still hear me, okay? Can you? Is it coming through, okay, Andrew?
Yes, coming through.
Okay.
nicely.
Yeah. Well, I'll just play you a little excerpt of Scheherazade, which is one of the most famous things that he composed, and then I'll tell you about the second trip. And then then the trip to Moscow. Okay. So this is a little bit of the Prince and Princess from Scheherazade. It's a piano solo arrangement. Let's play a few measures of it. Just let me get my music on the iPad. Okay. So it goes rather like this. Just get the on the iPad. Just getting it now. Okay. So on. So it's very Russian sounding music, really, really beautiful.
Very nice.
It tells the story of the Arabian Nights, Scheherazade and Sinbad, and you know, it's quite a well-known story in Russian folklore. Okay, so now I'm going to describe the second trip. Okay, just let me stop the sharing. Okay. Okay, so now I went there again in 2016, July, actually on July the 4th to the 9th. I was there during July the 4th, and I was a contestant in the Piano Bridges competition. And this competition was for adult pianists. It was founded by Natalia Dobrovolskaya, who very sadly is no longer with us. She passed away about a year ago, but I'll show you her photo very soon in the photo album. This took place in the Composers Union building, which is a very old historic building, and the Jan Kirik Auditorium, which is like a church hall in another part of the city, with very good acoustics. The Composers Union building was founded in 1932, and Dmitry Shostakovich, the famous Soviet composer, was the chairman from 1946 to 1947. It's a wood paneled hall with a huge photo of Shostakovich in the hallway, and has paintings of Tchaikovsky and other composers. It's next to the Vladimir Nabokov Museum, where we had practice rooms with pianos, but that is rather dilapidated. It had really needs a lot of work done on it. It had plaster peeling off the wall, and and painting, and I think they neglected it, so they really need to improve that. There was a very nice restaurant in between the Composers Union building and the practice facility. And as I said, the finals of the competition were in the Jan Kirik Auditorium. And I actually won the second prize, so I was really pleased about that. Did quite well. After the competition award ceremony, there was a boat trip during the evening on the Neva River, and there was a buffet dinner on the boat, so that's very nice. And then during the weekend after the competition, there was an absolutely spectacular concert in a huge auditorium called the Academic Capella Auditorium on the edge of Admiralty Square. And it was just like a palace, like Buckingham Palace. Had excellent acoustics, very good pianos. The audience was very enthusiastic. And this was arranged by the piano competition and the Les Amateurs Virtuoso Festival. And I played a recital of music by Tchaikovsky, Ponce, Albéniz, Bortkovich, and Shostakovich. And you will, yes, and I will play some excerpts from that soon. I did some other sightseeing in the Russian Museum. I stayed in a very nice hotel on the embankment of the Fontanka River, and I did lots of walked to the auditorium every day. There's a very good Uber car service. The weather was very hot when I arrived. It was in the mid-80s. Well, then it got cooler and it rained for 5 days. The weather in St. Petersburg can be rather changeable. And then it became sunny right at the end again. So it also took place during the White Nights Festival. I've just remembered actually that before I show you the pictures of this, that there's some recording I wanted to play of of a concert in the auditorium, the Sheremetyev Palace, from the previous visit. I think I'll just put that on so you can hear a little bit of that. It's a 2-piano work, and it was Rachmaninoff's Second Symphony. Let me just bring that up, and then you can hear that. Just a minute. Share the screen. Just a minute. Where is okay. Share the screen. Share the screen. Share the screen. Let me just make it a bit wider. Oh no, this is actually me playing. Can you all see that and hear
Yes,
it?
very nice. Yeah.
Okay, so that's one, and I want to show you another one, which I played with a Canadian pianist. This was a piano duet arrangement of the Rachmaninoff Second Symphony. Just let me just stop the sharing, and then let's just get that. Okay, I'm getting better at this as I go along. Okay, so this is the Rachmaninoff Second Symphony. Just let me get that on the screen. Where has it gone? No, I don't want that one. Meeting. Share. Okay, can you see and hear this?
Yes.
So that's that.
Very nice.
Okay, so now I'm going to show you the photo album of the second trip that I made to St. Petersburg. Okay, so let me just get that. Number 2. Okay. Share screen. Can you all see that?
Very nice.
Okay, so that is the Academic Capella Auditorium. It's absolutely huge, and it probably holds well over 1,000 people, probably 1,500. And the inside is just like a palace, just so ornate and cavernous building, very luxurious. Has a royal box, and the acoustics are excellent in there. Rather reverberant type of acoustics, but wonderful place to play in. They have many symphony concerts and other recitals there, and I believe Tchaikovsky has conducted in that hall. It's really wonderful. You see 2 Steinways on the stage, Steinway pianos, and that's the entrance to it. It looks like the entrance to Buckingham Palace on a smaller scale. See? And as I said, it's on the edge of the area near the Hermitage, Winter Palace, and Admiralty Square. You know, that's okay. And then you've seen that before. See the Winter Palace and the Hermitage Museum. See. Okay, now this is the final ceremony of the piano bridges competition that I played in. Natalia Dobrovolskaya is this lady here who founded it. These are members of the jury. These are all the contestants, and with their diplomas and certificates. See, I'm somewhere off to the right of the picture. And then after the competition, we had this wonderful boat trip on the Neva River with nice things to eat and music, and there was a firework display. Just really something. That was quite late at night. It was about 8 o'clock. You see, it was still nice and sunny and warm. That's the back of Julian Kurtz, who helped arrange the concert. It was just a magnificent time I had there. That's the program, I think, in one of the concerts that we played in Russian and in English. Okay, that's in the Composers Union building, where the preliminary and semi-final round took place. And as I said, this is where famous musicians such as Rostropovich, the cellist, and Sviatoslav Richter played there. And Dmitry Shostakovich was the chairman of the Union of Soviet Composers, 1946 to 47. And it's a wood paneled building, and that's the green. Although it's red inside, that's the green room, the practice room before we went on to play. And that's an oil painting of Mussorgsky there on the wall. Okay, and that's that they were making some announcements there. Members of the jury and the organisers of the competition at the end of the first round. Okay, and that's a huge photo of Dmitry Shostakovich in the hallway. You know, he was oppressed by the Soviets, and he had to be very careful what he did and said. And some of his compositions, some of his symphonies during the Second World War are like a protest to the Soviet, to Stalin, and they weren't very happy with the way things are going. So he protested in music, and I think they realized this, and they banned some of his music for a while. But, anyway, he was a very great composer, Russian composer, Dmitry Shostakovich. This is the entrance to the Composers Union building. It's really quite old. You see down, let's see, and that's the door with the sign saying the competition. You see, open to the public. That's the chairman of the jury, talking about the performances and the standard, etc. They were very, very kind and very supportive jury, one of the most I've ever been to. It's very, very nice people and very enthusiastic, and they really encouraged us all a lot. That's the other members of the jury. They're all teachers in St. Petersburg at the Conservatoire, and he's a particularly fine pianist, just absolutely great. That's the practice. That's the practice room I had. We had mainly Yamaha pianos. That was in the Nabokov Museum, and as I said, it's a little bit dilapidated. You can't see it from here, but it needed a lot of repairs. Okay, that's an oil painting of Tchaikovsky in the lobby of the Composers Union building. That's in the venue where they had the final round. That's in the Jan Kirik auditorium, which I think is used as a church. Had very nice acoustics. And that's at the restaurant in between the two buildings. Very good home-cooked food. That was tilapia, and it was very reasonably priced. And I used to eat there quite a lot during competition rounds and when I was practicing. So that's Ian Roy, he's from one of the contestants, a friend of mine from the UK, from Scotland. That's the audience, very, very enthusiastic. That's somebody else rehearsing. Oh, that's Julian Kurtz with me in that restaurant. Julian is the organizer of the amateur festival, Les Amateurs Virtuoso, and just amazing what he's accomplished. It's been going for, I think, about 10 years now. It's still going strong. Really wonderful. That's in the Russian Museum. It's a bit like the Louvre, a bit smaller than the Hermitage, but wonderful works of art and painting. Let's see. Oh yeah, and that's Natalia Dobrovolskaya. She was a very, very nice lady and very friendly, and she founded the competition, I think in about 2007 or something. And very sadly, she suddenly became ill and passed away about a year ago. It's very, very sad, but what can you do? So we're really very indebted to her. That's an outside concert. Had all sorts of events going on during the White Nights Festival. It was a bit cloudy that time and a bit cool, but anyway. Let's see, what else is there now? Have I come to the end of it? Yeah, I think. Oh yeah. Now this is a video clip of me playing in the academic capella. I'll just play you a little bit of that, and you can hear. It's a little bit echoey, but it's Tchaikovsky Romance. So let's see. So that was Tchaikovsky's Romance, and it was rather sad, typical melancholy of Tchaikovsky. Had rather tragic life. This is I'll just play you a few seconds of this. Is by a Ukrainian composer called Sergei Bordkovich, who wrote some very nice things. So that's by Sergei Bordkovich, and it's very sort of peaceful and dreamy, and I just thought it's gorgeous and makes a very big difference to play on a wonderful piano in a hall like that. It's really
Very
like
nice.
a
What was the
dream
name of
come
that
true.
piece again, Robert?
Well, it's one of the Consolations by
Mm.
Consolation Opus 17.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Very
then
nice.
this is the audience, and they seem to be mesmerized. You know, they really appreciated what we did. And I was playing something by a Mexican composer, Manuel Ponce, and some of them cheered afterwards. And they came up to me. Somebody came up to me and said, this sounds like music from an old Soviet movie, like Russian music, but it's really Mexican. But anyway, just play a little bit of that. Okay, so I got the impression that in St. Petersburg the audiences are a bit more enthusiastic than in Moscow. They seem to be a bit more sort of matter of fact. Maybe they get spoilt by all the music there, but it seemed that the different kind of people, certainly towards us, amateur musicians, and they cheered, and they were really pleased with what we did. So. Okay, and that's in the Russian Museum. The guide showed us around, and wonderful paintings. You know, it's typical what you would see. And that's the that's in St. Petersburg. That's one of the landmarks, St. Isaac's Cathedral. St. Isaac's Cathedral. Okay, and I think that's it. Yeah, there was another famous landmark along Nevsky Prospect that looks a bit like that, and that's where Tchaikovsky's funeral took place. There was a big procession along the street, and the funeral took place not too far from there. So anyway, so that's the second trip. Now I'm going to tell you about the last trip, the Moscow trip, and then we'll be finished. So it'll be about another 10. I hope that's all right. Not too long, is it? Do we have time? Another 15 minutes or so. Is that okay, Andrew?
That's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Okay. So the other trip I made was to Moscow, and let me just tell you about that. Yes, I've always wanted to go to Moscow, and this was in a different time of year. It was in the middle of January 2018. It happened to be during the Russian Christmas. They have their Christmas a month later than we do, and they had all the Christmas decorations up in Red Square, lots of colored lights and decorations. And I traveled from Boston to Philadelphia, and then from Philadelphia to Helsinki, and then it was a short flight from Helsinki to Moscow. I stayed at a friend's apartment in Moscow. This friend did some postgraduate work at Boston University, and he was a very fine amateur pianist. He's now professor of mathematics at Moscow State University. And so he was actually in Spain at the time, and so he let me and also Matthias Fischer, who's a psychiatrist, a doctor from Württemberg, Germany. He also played. He's a very fine pianist, and he also played in this concert. And so we used the apartment while Dmitri was away. This was a weekend mini festival, and it was arranged by my friend's teacher, and it took place at one of the many museums in Moscow called the Alexander Goldenweiser Museum. Goldenweiser was a very famous pianist and professor of piano. I think he taught Sviatoslav Richter and Emil Gilers, a very, very fine teacher. It was rather cold and snowy when I was there. It was between 30 and 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and it was actually colder in Boston than there. It seemed a little bit warm. And each day it snowed at maybe about an inch, and they did a very good job of clearing the sidewalks and the roads. They had trucks that came to clear the snow, just like we have here in Massachusetts. And on the main highways, they had these trucks with salt and sanding, and trucks that had rotary brushes to sweep the sidewalks. So they did a very good job of clearing the snow. Just after I arrived, I went to a magnificent concert at the Grand Hall of the Tchaikovsky Conservatory. This was to celebrate the 60th birthday of Vladimir Ovchinnikov. He is a very good pianist. He tied for second place with a British pianist, Peter Donahoe, during one of the earlier Tchaikovsky piano competitions. And this concert was all Rachmaninoff music, piano music and piano and choir. And it was just great, one of the best Rachmaninoff concerts I've ever heard. The hall there is just gorgeous. It's rather like Symphony Hall, very similar shape and size and capacity. And it has excellent acoustics, and it has the paintings of different composers on the wall, rather like the statues in Symphony Hall. The lobby and the halls outside are like a museum. There are glass cases of photos and memorabilia of famous teachers and musicians who taught at the Moscow Conservatoire. And outside the museum was outside the conservatoire in the street was a big statue of Tchaikovsky covered in snow. So it was rather unusual to see that. Our concert went very well in the museum, Matthias and mine. We played piano solos and duets by Tchaikovsky and Debussy and Gabriel Fauré, other composers, and we were very well received by the audience. We spent the rest of the time sightseeing in Red Square and around the city. The metro was amazing with all its chandeliers. We used the Uber car quite a lot, and we saw all the Russian Christmas lights and decorations. We visited the museum of Sergei Prokofiev, who was another famous Russian composer, with a bronze statue in the street of him, life-size statue, the Scriabin Museum, and I was extremely impressed with Moscow. It's just amazing what's been done since the time of the Soviets, when you hear that people queued in the street to just buy toilet paper, and there's nothing in the supermarkets, but they've done an amazing job to modernize it, and there are wonderful restaurants and shops, department stores, parks, huge buildings and monuments and statues, and there are some remnants of the Soviet era which are a little bit bleak near the bus station. And I'd like to go back again when the weather's better. It was rather cold and snowy, but nevertheless I had a great time there, and I want to see much more. But now I'm going to show you the photos and video clips of Moscow. So just let me do that. Then if there's any time, I'll be glad to answer any of your questions you might have. So let me just go to that now. Okay, can you all see that? Can you see that? And yep. Okay, so that's in the hallway, the lobby of the the Tchaikovsky Conservatory, the big auditorium. And as I said before, just like in Symphony Hall, they have photos of famous people like Bashkirov, who was a famous teacher there. Let's see what else. Okay, so that's that. Okay, and that's in the Goldenweiser Museum. It's where he lived. That's a picture of him. This was late 19th century, early 20th century. Okay, and let me show you. Okay, and in the museum is a picture of Alexander Scriabin, the composer. These were all contemporaries of each other at the same time. Rachmaninov, Sergei Rachmaninov, with his two daughters there. And then that's in Red Square. That's, as I said, that because it was the Christmas time, they had all these things here for children, swings and roundabouts and amusements. And this building here in the background is called the Gum department store. It's a huge, mainly food store, but just a very, very impressive, amazing place. This is the Kremlin walls, and facing the Lenin mausoleum. That's where the mummified body of Vladimir Lenin lies in there. I didn't actually go in to see it, but I just walked by it, you know. And this is the Russian, the Moscow River. It was a bit icy and frozen in some places, just like the Charles River gets, you know. It's a rather bleak day, rather grey. Oh, and that's inside the Moscow, the Grand Hall, Tchaikovsky Museum, Tchaikovsky Conservatory. And I'll just, there's a video clip here, and you can see all the pictures on the wall of the composers. And okay.
Really impressive, isn't it? All the pictures of the composers, Borodin and Wagner and Rimsky-Korsakov and Mozart and Bach and Glazunov and Anton Rubinstein. It's a very nice hall, this, isn't it? It's really, yeah. Oh yes, Frederick Chopin.
Yeah, so it's a wonderful hall, very, very ornate, and it was renovated, I think, about 10 years ago. And that's where they have the finals of the piano and I think the violin section of the Tchaikovsky competition. Okay, and this is the program of the concert that Vladimir Ovchinnikov gave, and it says Rachmaninov in Cyrillic characters there. It's really nice. I can understand Russian now. I'm taking classes with a very good teacher in Moscow, and I can speak reasonably now. So next time I go, I hope to be able to make myself understood. This is outside the Prokofiev Museum. This is a life-size bronze statue of Prokofiev. And you see the sign saying what it is. Okay. And that's his office, his desk and piano, bookshelf. This is where he lived. You see an old-fashioned type of record player, gramophone. Okay. His piano. And he was a very keen chess player. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger. No, I can't do that. Okay. Yeah, he liked playing chess, just like a lot of musicians did. Not me, but he played chess. And then this is shows the violin of Oistrakh, who was a famous Russian violinist, and the cello that belonged to Mstislav Rostropovich, who was a famous cellist, Russian cellist. Okay, that's Prokofiev's piano with a manuscript on it. You see another view of it. There's some more letters that he wrote. That's his tuxedo. I can't zoom in on this. Anyway, that's his tuxedo that he wore when he conducted. See, that's when he was conducting a concert. And that's okay. That's Matthias Fischer playing. Actually, he played some Prokofiev there. He memorized some of the third Prokofiev sonata, and he just sat down and played it. It's quite a nice little auditorium on the top floor of the museum, and it'd be very good to give concerts there. Maybe that's possible someday. Okay, and that's in Red Square. That's shows some of the buildings. You know, everything is so well kept. It's spotlessly clean, and it looks as though it was built yesterday. You know, they keep very good care of it, even though these buildings are hundreds of years old. You see, that's the Kremlin walls. That's where Vladimir Putin works, although he lives actually somewhere away from that in a mansion. He doesn't actually live there during the day, but that's where he works in the Russian government. And it was and as I said, it snowed every day. They did a wonderful job of clearing all the snow, you see, so people don't slip. It's just they have these trucks with brushes that zoom round and round, and they clear the snow. And yes, very good. And they have, just like in Massachusetts, they have bulldozers to clear the snow, and sand and salting trucks, you know, on the highways. So they're very well organized. They didn't have that much snow when I was there, but just as I got back, they were clobbered with about a foot of snow. So they really, you know, had a lot of snow then. So I managed to be there with that when that didn't happen. Okay, that's oh, now this is in the Scriabin Museum, another famous Russian composer who was quite eccentric. He could actually see color, imagine colors when different notes were played, and yes, that's a portrait of his mother, Alexander Scriabin. That's his living room. It's a little bit small actually. Very sort of nice bright colors, his living room. That's the dining room. I wish I could make this smaller, larger rather. Zoom in, I don't know. And that's some photos on the wall. I don't know why it's so small. That's a photograph of him. He was late 19th century, early 20th century. That's him as a little boy. And that's a picture of, that's Scriabin, and that's, I think, Joseph Hoffman, who was a famous pianist teacher of that time, about the same age. And that's another picture of him, and I think he was about 19 years old before he had the moustache and arty-crafty looking. And that's Rachmaninoff, Sergei Rachmaninoff, when he was similar age, young man. I think he was about 20 or 21. A picture of Scriabin when he became more eccentric. And that's the bedroom. That's where he passed away. That's that's a statue and monument outside St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow, Red Square. See, that's in the distance. It looks rather like the one in St. Petersburg with these sort of ice cream cone. Oh, there's the zoo. That's what I was looking for. You see. Yeah, so that's that. I've come to the end. I think I've come to the end of it, yeah. Let me just go back a little bit to zoom in on those other things I showed you. Now I've got this. So that's the monument. You see lots of statues everywhere. Next one. That's the bedroom where Scriabin died. See? also Rachmaninoff. You see, he was born, I think, in 1817. He died 70 years later. He's buried actually in Westchester, New York. He lived in Russia, then he emigrated to the United States. He lived in Beverly Hills, and the most famous things he wrote was like the Second Piano Concerto, like. That's an excerpt from the Second Piano Concerto that he wrote, one of the most well-known things, composition, very, very popular, Second Piano Concerto.
By the way, Robert, I know he came over in 1918. He applied for American citizenship and didn't get it until 1 month before he passed away, sadly, in 1943.
Yes, he died of cancer, unfortunately. He was offered the position of the music director of the Boston Symphony, actually, but for some reason he refused, and he became associated with the Philadelphia Orchestra. But, you know, and that's Scriabin when he was a young man. And let's see what else. I think I'm nearly coming to the end now. Okay, and then photograph of. Yeah, I think that does look like Hoffman, Joseph Hoffman, but it might be his brother. I don't know, but they look very like. That's Alexander Scriabin. That's either Hoffman or who was a very famous piano teacher and pianist, or his brother. I'm not sure which. Let's just see. Okay, and then. Yeah, so I'll just zoom in on that one, so then I'll finish it. Okay, so that's Golden Weiser, the one who the museum where we played in. Okay, so to just summarize, I had a fantastic time there. It's a great place for sightseeing, even if you're not a musician. There's so much to see there, and the people are very, very nice, and you know, if it weren't for the political situation, I wouldn't mind actually living there. It's, you know, Moscow, I think, is several times bigger than New York. It's just vast, you know. And St. Petersburg is also quite big. But I highly recommend, if you want to have a wonderful holiday, if you're a musician or not, go to St. Petersburg and to Moscow and have a look around, and I think you'll have a time of your life going there. It's just really, really wonderful. So anyway, that's my presentation, and I don't know whether anybody has any questions. Let me just. That's
wonderful, Robert. Let's open it up to the floor. We can ask people to unmute, and thank you so much, Robert. It's 8:21, so this was quite a good session. We really appreciate your time. Yeah. And let's see if someone wants to. I can unmute people here, or at least ask them to unmute. And so if anyone wants to ask a question now, it would be a great time.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure, Wanda, yeah.
Did this inspire you to start the BPAA in Boston?
Well, this was actually long after that. The BPA, we founded in 2001, and the festival started up, as I say, maybe about 10 years later. You know, so it was the Van Cliben competition in 1999 that inspired me to form the Boston competition. You know, and then all this came afterwards, and it just generated some wonderful opportunities. You know, it's just almost like a professional concert circuit. There's so much to do now if you've got the time and money to do it. It's just really great.
So Robert, you've been the BPAA is now 20 years old as of this year. That's
Yes,
phenomenal.
yeah, the 20th anniversary.
For
Time's
those
gone
that
very,
don't
very
know, I mean,
fast.
you run every 2 years you run an international competition where we have people from around the world. Probably
Yes,
about
we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we have people as far. We've had people from Australia and from several from Japan and from China, and it's becoming well known now and international. We were to have one this year, but of course the pandemic. So it's postponed until next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Well, Robert, this was wonderful. You really did a great job presenting all those different images and just giving
you.
us a little bit of a glimpse of what it's like in Russia. I mean, I want to definitely go someday when,
I want to go. I wanna go
post-COVID.
Yeah.
Let's all go, Andrew.
We should all
Yeah,
go.
should do.
Definitely. If there's a competition coming up, let's all go to it. I think that's very
And
exciting.
not ruin for me.
Yeah.
I want to go tourist, not play.
I just love the fact that you could almost ask Robert to play any composer and he just can, under his fingertips, he can play a piece. That's just wonderful, Robert.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and your skill and your music appreciation. It's been a great
you.
pleasure having you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for all the.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you all for joining, and please spread the word. We very much appreciate Cummings for promoting this, and also I have to thank Joe Blanchard. Actually, has made some contributions to us as well to help keep this going. So we really appreciate all your participation, and hope you visit us again. And there'll be a Composer's Corner next month with Mark Cross that I'll personally be interviewing. And he's quite an accomplished jazz pianist that was famous in Boston for many years, and then moved to New York, and we'd love to have him on the show. So thank you again, all. Have a great night, and we look forward to a time when we can all get together again and share a drink face to face.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.